All right, so yeah, that'll take us out to the final issue of the show then, which is Adventures of Superman 582. I think on last week's episode, I explained the numbering here of Adventures of Superman versus Superman Volume 2. So go back to that one if you want an explanation as to what exactly Adventures of Superman is. But
also, it's the Adventures of Superman with Supergirl.
Except she's not really in the issue.
No, but that's what the cover is actually selling it as the book right now.
Oh, really? Okay, I mean...
Yeah, it's actually the Adventures of Superman, and then underneath it says with Supergirl.
That's not a little add-on title. Doesn't really mean much.
Yeah. No, I know, but it tells you a lot about what this book was at the time, I think.
Yeah, I guess. And it's worth mentioning, because this book is pre... it's pre the crash landing Supergirl from Krypton, who's the cousin, right? That's from the 2000s. Obviously, that was a Silver Age Supergirl as well, but I'm pretty sure the Supergirl, if she does show up in this at some point, I assume she's going to since she's on the cover of this issue, but not in this issue. This is the the one who was in the Peter David run, the Angel, the Earth Angel.
I assume so.
Well, I mean, even with the flames in the cover, that's kind of like her flaming wings, unless I'm mistaken. But
yeah. I mean, this is from the very early 2000s. This issue.
Yeah, Supergirl. The Jeff Loeb Supergirl introduction to Batman Superman was later, though, right?
It was. I think it was like 2003, maybe, right?
Yeah, it was definitely. Yeah, it was later.
I think it's a couple of years after this.
Yeah. So, I don't know when the Earth Angel Supergirl left or when she died or whenever that happened. I'm not sure, but yeah.
Continuity, folks.
For the record, Supergirl by Peter David is one of those runs that I'm really looking forward to doing in this show at some point. Need to wait till one of the other ones ends, but this
eventually, yeah.
It's definitely a consideration, folks, because it's very interesting. So I'm going to be honest, I didn't like this issue that much.
Thank God.
This is not Jeff Loeb, and I'm forgetting the artist's name from the last issue. This is
Ed McGuinness.
There you go, Ed McGuinness. Thank you. J.M. Demetes is the writer in this, and then Mike S. Miller's the artist. And the art is fine. It's definitely trying to emulate the other artist, McGuinness, but I thought this was a shorty read. Like this thing just felt like it was pages and pages of text. It didn't flow that well to me.
There is a lot of text, and yeah, this was a slog.
Honestly, like this was sold to me because of the way it's put in the trade of like all these different issues of the different series. I went in thinking that Jeff Loeb wrote the whole thing, and this was just one story that played out over all these books. But reading this feels like a tie-in issue where almost everything in this just feels like it's maybe slightly expanding what was in the first issue, but without really doing anything interesting.
It's interesting because this is part 2 of this story, this Superman Arkham, whatever the story is called.
So they claim.
yeah. Officially, this is part 2 for all intents and purposes.
It doesn't feel like it, though.
It doesn't, though. I agree. There are a couple of beats where maybe, sure, that, this is technically the next step, but
because it basically establishes
like
it establishes that Superman keeps breaking out of Arkham and Bizarro keeps catching him and putting him back. It's like he's in this never-ending nightmare of repetition. So we've already seen him escape and get put back in a really fun issue, which was the last one. This one,
I feel like there's a bit near the start of this where it feels like it's repeating some of the beats, like to the point where I feel like it's actually recapping and redoing that, like the bit with Lois.
Yeah,
is that the same bit from like the end of last issue, or is that it happened again? Like, this keeps happening.
Well, I think the Lois encounter is different.
It is, but they don't address the previous time. So
he does say that he remembers and that you've changed your hair because she had wigs end of last issue. Remember?
That's true. Yeah.
So it establishes that his memory is hazy, but he does remember with different hair. And obviously he does have this feeling of remembrance with her anyway, because obviously he's got the faint inkling of his real life. For what all that stuff he's forgotten. But I do think that moment is him remembering she had different hair last issue. So I do think it is addressing that. No, that meeting did happen, and now this is happening again.
Okay, fair enough.
But and she kind of traps him in a lab, but he ends up getting out. There's like an anti-Justice League that Bizarro's got of a really. I mean, did you immediately know that this was Poison Ivy that we were looking at?
I mean, just from the visual, yes. I mean, I wasn't like, oh, I've seen this version of Poison Ivy before, but she's green, she's planty. I'm like, okay, this has got to be Poison Ivy. There's no one else it could be, surely.
it didn't click for me. It wasn't until someone's called her Ivy that I went, oh, it's poison ivy. I guess I can see it. Someone's pointed it out.
It's do you know what? No, it's not like a traditional Ivy look, but it's in the ballpark enough that I immediately went, yeah, sure, I get how that's Ivy.
I think because she's with a bunch of, let's be honest, like
Unknowns.
I was going to be kind and say like T-listers or something like that, but like
What was that kind of than unknowns?
Because okay, but it's a more specific.
Who's the guy who looks like he's Jonah Hex?
I have no idea.
I'm assuming it's not Jonah Hex, but
No, it's not. I don't think it is. Yeah, because the one that's on the cover with Supergirl is this Inferno or Ignition or whatever her name is. Some sort of fiery demon-looking chick, right? That's who she is. And I'm sure these are characters from something. I'm sure these are a deep pull that DC writer nerds have pulled out from some.
Oh, I'm sure they are. I don't doubt that they exist as characters. Just that we don't know who the hell these people are.
Yeah. Oh, one of them's a turtle, though, right? There is a turtle-esque character. He's an actual turtle, though.
Where am I looking?
Is he He's like feeling a little snappy, are we? Yeah, because Flash is fighting him. There's like a scene with Flash fighting the turtle, but he's actually got like a big shell back, and he's like, and he bites his hand or some dude's hand. Well, it's Jimmy.
Okay, sure,
he bites Jimmy's hand. That's who it is.
Jimmy,
Yeah, it's Jimmy's hand, and Jimmy grows into a giant turtle boy, which is kind of a play on some old Jimmy stuff. But like, yeah, and then like they call in an exorcist to deal with. I mean, I assume this is Supergirl who's the nun. So I guess this is Supergirl that's in this issue.
I think it is because she's got the fire wings, right?
Yeah, I guess it is. But you don't see the hair though. She's got like a headdress on, and yeah.
Okay, I found out who this league is because it was bothering me.
All right, go on then.
So we've got they're officially called on this is on the DC Wiki, the Joker League of Anarchy. So we got Bizarro, obviously, Bounty, which I assume is the not Jonah Hex.
Mm-hmm.
Ignition, which is a first appearance. Poison Ivy, obviously, Scorch and Schism, and then the Turtle as well.
There's Ignition and Scorch. There's two flame sounding ones.
The demon one I think is Scorch because Ivy yells at Scorch to shut up as she's talking. I'm lost after that. Ignition's the big machine dude.
Yeah. See, this tells you how much I didn't like this issue. I said at the start of this conversation that Supergirl's on the cover but didn't appear. There is literally a full-page spread towards the end of this issue of her with the logo on her chest and the big fire wings.
Yeah.
That's literally something that happens towards the end of this issue. And I'd completely forgotten about it, and I read it 2 days ago.
Yeah, the idea is that she seems to know what's going on, right? She's got this perception of the world and knows things are screwed up and changed.
Yeah, she seems to have and giant turtle Jimmy stands on her, and he tries to eat Superman, and then it just says continue next chapter as Lois looks on in horror from the comms room.
Mine again, I'm in the single issue. It just specifically says continued in Man of Steel 104.
Yeah. This is a weird issue.
This is a step down in this story in every sense of the word, isn't it?
I just flat out didn't like it. I didn't think it was enjoyable to read. There was a lot of characters that I didn't really know just yelling at each other, which didn't feel like an introduction in any way, shape, or form. It just felt like I was supposed to somehow know who these characters were. The fact that I forgot like one of the big major story beats that from when I read it 2 days ago, I think is a damning criticism.
Do you know what I think is part of the problem with this moment? Is I think it's a fine moment, and the art, while it's not McGuinness, right, it's not bad art.
Yeah.
However, that moment should have been a full page.
I don't think that's why
big reveal there.
I don't think that's why I forgot it, but sure.
I think if that was a big full page reveal, that would have been more memorable inherently.
I mean, maybe. I think it's more the fact that she just gets it stomped immediately by. It's played more of a joke than it is like an actual big dramatic beat.
That's true. Yeah,
I think that's got
because
something to do with it.
I assume this is just because it feels like maybe this book was kind of just hers right now, right? That's why it's
Maybe.
says with Supergirl on the front. So maybe they're just like, well, we need to work her in somehow.
Yeah, not in a way that I have particularly enjoyed. And the fact that this is a different creative team, the fact that this is a different writer to me says this is more of a tie-in than it is an actual main chapter.
I think it's interesting because Jeff Loeb doesn't even have. There's not even like a story credit or like a share. Usually when we see this now, what's a recent issue? Night of the Monster Men, a couple of years ago now, admittedly, but I think there's a good example where I think there was still some individual teams writing, but we had a story by every. It was always overseen by one person, right? I don't think Orlando wrote every issue of that. So maybe I'm misremembering now. But that idea that you see where someone's the kind of the lead writer, and this is all the story beats, but individual writers on that book.
If I recall correctly, he co-wrote with everyone, so all the writers of those main books were still kind of there, but he was.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about. Where it's his story, and he's the one kind of okay. Here are the beats for this issue, and this is what we're going to do. But then the individual writers are probably the ones doing most of the heavy scripting. Yeah,
the only thing I've really glossed over here that we should probably mention is that Lois has Clark trapped in a lab, but for some reason feels the need to let him go, and they share a kiss, and it's kind of this weird. Like, okay, we both felt the need to kiss there, but we don't really know who each other are. It's kind of weird.
Yeah.
So I wanted to mention that beat because I felt weird to ignore it, but yeah. So it ends with Big Turtle Jimmy eating Superman, and Lois just looking in shock and horror, and that's the issue. And I went from being looking forward to the next issue of this to now dreading the next issue. Like, I'm basically just like until it's the Loeb chapter again, I'm worried.
Well, I'm gonna go and see who is on issue 104 of Man of Steel.
I wonder if he's on all the issues of Emperor Joker, because the Emperor Joker trade does just say Jeff Loeb and Ed McGuinness on the front. I'm sure it does. So they must be prominent in some way.
Okay, I'm looking at. Would you like to hear the solicit?
Okay.
The next one. So, Superman Arkham Part 3. The science police are after John Henry Irons for committing the heresy of thinking logically. Can the rusted out steel convince Superman that 2 + 2 doesn't equal fish before the deadliest hired gun ever, Bounty, gets the duo in his high-tech crosshairs?
So it's just another So that's another tie. It's another Superman ally having a story.
It's Steel, right? Doing his issue.
Who's the writer though?
It's Mark Schultz. We do have Doug Mahnke on art though, so I mean, should look good at least.
Interesting. Oh well. So I guess. I mean, this is only 4 issues, right? Because then it's going to be the one shot, and then like the 4 issues.
Yes.
That tie into that. So, I guess maybe the 4th one, Action Comics, will be the end of the actual story.
Yeah, Action Comics 769 is that.
Okay. Also, Mixapetlik's still running around, trying to.
Yeah, there's like a little moment at the start where he's like, "Hey, wait, I got news to tell you," and then, oh, I can tell you from the cover that.
The book looks good, but I didn't enjoy reading this at all.
No. Action is the Superboy issue.
All right, well, I mean, surely this Arkham stuff just leads into Emperor Joker then. Because that's the Emperor Joker one shot, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, because you sold me this as if it was 2 arcs, but it's not really. It's more like a lead-in and then the actual arc.
It's labelled as 2 arcs, which is why I assumed it was. Don't blame me. I'm using the information provided. If you give a story 2 separate names, I'm going to assume it's 2 separate arcs. I think reasonably fairly.
What I wonder is that if you just read that last issue and jumped straight to the one shot, would it work and make sense? And you wouldn't feel like you'd really missed anything.
I don't know. I will say, just looking at because I'm looking ahead here at the solicit for Action. It mentions Superman and Steel working together, so it feels like there might actually be some continuity after the 3rd issue.
Okay. Well, my yawning's a good indication that we're done talking about this. What are you giving it?
I'm going to give it a 4 because it's unenjoyable to read, but it's not horrible. Like, you know, it's just not interesting. It's bland. It's fun, but the art's all right.
I think the art's good enough, but I think the writing is just not enjoyable to read. I felt like it was a chore. Like, I felt the length of every single page, and I was kind of like just praying for it to end. You know, once I was halfway through, and yeah, so because of that, yeah, 4. I'll agree with the 4. Yeah, I was tempted to go lower, but you know, it does look fine. You know,
I think the art is like, again, I think it suffers because it's coming off McGuinness, right? And that
it's good art though.
Art.
It's not bad art.
It is good art. Yeah, it is good. It's just coming off of something amazing. It just doesn't seem as good.